Hey, what's going on, Andrew? What's going on? What's going on, guys? We'll get started in a few minutes here. Just waiting for some more people to pour in here. What's going on, guys? What's going on? What's going on, guys? Give it just a few more minutes and we'll go ahead and get started. Very, very interesting 6-game slate, for sure. Very interesting. It's a lot different than yesterday's, where yesterday was so straightforward, just with the stacks and everything. Well, can I talk about yesterday real quick? Let's talk about yesterday. If I get one more piece of hate mail in my DMs, I'm just going to start blocking people. I tell you what, the stacks for Miami, for Chicago, and who's the last team? I'm drawing a blank. For Chicago, Miami, and Dallas, that's who it was. Those were on point, okay? Like, if you look from the bottom, if you look from the top to the bottom for those rosters, there was more fire players in those lineups than any other team, okay? I'm sorry that the chalk players were the ones who didn't hit. The ones that your Satoranskis, yeah, 7.25 points, guys. It happens. It's sports. It's very volatile. Okay. The stacks in general, though, there's a lot of people who played a one-off player or one-off couple players, and they had a very good night. I got a few players in Discord who were near takedowns. Your Rudy Gobert's of the night, though. Sorry, I had a feeling that was going to happen. I said a nice pivot would be out of bio. I tell you what, man. Out of bio was bad last night, too, but he still did better than Rudy Gobert. Yeah, I mean, like overall the stacks, though. I mean, if you stacked those teams, you did well. It's just like there's one or two players in your lineup just threw it off. And it happened to me, too. So, but guys, I mean, the stacks were on point. Come on. And you knew it was going to happen. And not only that, they underperformed. Like, as a team, they all underperformed. But anyway, that's why we have DFS, right? So you can move on from those moments and you can move on to the next slate. Today's a new day. Let's go ahead and get at it. Let's go ahead and jump right into the slate. Yeah, it was a very weird night. Very weird night last night. But again, we're gonna help giving you guys the edge. I'm gonna follow the stats. I'm not gonna stray away from the stats. I'm not gonna go on opinions, right? Because if I did, we'd lose. So I'm going to keep giving you guys my all here with the stats. I'm a stat-based guy. I'm always going to follow the stats. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the chalk here. Yeah, and even Finney Smith, guys. Finney Smith didn't finish that bad. So, okay, so take that as you will. I did say Brunson was going to be my one guy where I was a little iffy, and he got injured in the first quarter. I had 5% of Brunson, so luckily for me, it paid off, but. Anyway, let's go ahead. I'm done talking about last night. Last night, we are moving out of our brains. So, tonight, we're starting with the chalk here with Minnesota. Minnesota, McLaughlin averages over a fantasy point per minute. This is going to be a pace down spot for Denver, okay? The one thing with Denver, if they do blow them out, you can still load up on Minnesota. The reason why is because if they do blow them out, a lot of these guys will still be in the rotation. Guys like Culver will still play. Martin will still play. I believe Beasley will still be in there. It seems like Beasley plays the entire game for these guys. All right. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you guys. I'll ignore the chat for now because I'm gonna get sidetracked. McLaughlin though, my favorite play on the slate by far. Again, not a ideal matchup. Again, Denver looks completely different than what they did. Not completely, but they look different defensively than what they did a couple months ago. Okay, a lot of the trades have been going down, a lot of swapping, and these guys are on the other side of the ball now. So again, McLaughlin, a fantastic player, fantasy point per minute wise. Again, coming in at 36%, I'm going to be slightly overweight on this guy. I think he's a very good cash play as well. Malik Beasley also, just because he plays the entire game, has been playing fantastic for these guys. Averages also over a fantasy point per minute. However, he's more than McLaughlin, which is why I like him less than McLaughlin, but still a 6.7 point per dollar play. I do like Malik Beasley still. McLaughlin and Beasley are cash locks in my opinion. Again, it's a slate. It's a pace down spot for Minnesota. That's the only thing that's scary about it. But again, thin rotation. Like I said, if they do happen to blow them out, it's not that bad because these guys will still log, really good minutes. It's not like they have a superstar that they're gonna bench, right? Naz Reid, also a fantastic play. Naz Reid, if he does start, okay, if he still gets 30 minutes, guys, he averages 1.17 fantasy points per minute. It's just been productive. I really do like this guy. I liked him even more when nobody was looking at him, but now that he is a little bit more chalky, and he's still not even that chalk, just because there's so many options at the center position here, coming in at 19% ownership. Still a great GPP play. I think he's cash viable at this point, just because I don't really like any of these other centers besides Jokic and Whiteside. But Naz Reid, definitely a fantastic option. Not only that, he's power forward eligible, which makes him elite almost, for GPPs. So I really do like Naz Reid. If he does play, if he logs 30 minutes, again, the only thing that's really concerning is foul trouble, but you can't really predict foul trouble. So 38 points in 32 minutes last game. They're projecting him at 30 minutes. So at a 5.5K price tag, he'd have to get to 27 DK points. He'd easily go over that. They should have him in for a decent amount of the game, just going against Jokic. So I do like Naz Reid. Josh Okogie, just one of those players that, is just kind of there. I would only recommend them in GPPs, but my favorite plays from this team. Hernan Gomez is pretty safe, okay, at 5.1. But my favorite are going to be McLaughlin, Beasley, Reid. And then if you can get Hernan Gomez in there, I also like Hernan Gomez. All right, again, if you're into the narrative of a revenge type game, then obviously Hernan Gomez and Beasley should have a good game. But I'm not a narrative guy, so if you guys do want to take him for that reason, feel free. Again, I would recommend about 2 to 3 at least of the T-Wolves, just because these price tags are still soft. Again, they'd make more sense if they were within the 5 to 6K range, but then I would be off these guys. So I do like these guys just because of their price tag. Obviously, with the high usage guys being out, Towns and D'Lo being out, I do see a lot of the usage going to these guys. So like I said, those are my favorite plays. Let's go ahead and move on from the chalk. And let's talk about Denver real quick, because Will Barton is very intriguing at 5.4. He's been playing pretty well lately. Again, in a good matchup. It's just one of those simple situations where he's just underpriced. There's nothing really going on with Denver. It's not like they're suffering from injuries. But again, look at this. He's 5.4, right? So he'd have to get to 26 DK points to meet value. 36, 25, 25, 39, 48, 28, 28. He'd meet value in all of those games. Okay, and it's a pace-up spot. So I really do like Will Barton for cash. I think he's a cash lock. Okay, GPPs, 37% is getting a little too high for me. I don't know how I feel about him in GPPs. I'm going to have to keep refreshing. And for you Patreon guys, I will update my stance on Will Barton. Jokic, again, another great play just because it's a pace-up spot. The best player on that team, 34 minutes. Is in a pretty good spot. Should own Naz Reid. Should get a bulk of the offense going through him. They're going to look for a mismatch down low with him. So I do like Jokic. Everybody else is fairly priced. Again, I mentioned this in the video. Gary Harris is going to be slightly undervalued as far as, sorry, he's going to be slightly underowned here. 3%, Gary Harris, 30 minutes, 4.2. We know that he's a shooter. So again, I like shooters and pace-up spots. If you guys want to take a stab at Gary Harris, I do like him for GPPs. All right. Also, guys, I have another fantasy sleeper. I have another GPP sleeper for you guys, like Tristan Thompson last night. Tristan Thompson didn't go off, but he did hit value and then a little bit more. So I'll give you my Tristan Thompson play of the night. Somebody seems to be going under the radar for sure. On the slate. So I'll get to that once I get to them. It looks like they're in the later games, so I will get to him. All right, let's move on to Indiana. Indiana's a little confusing here. So Indiana, they are without Oladipo. The usage does go to somebody like Lamb and Justin Holiday. However, it's not much. All right, it's a little underwhelming. Thank you so much, Casey, for the subscription. Justin Holiday, again, 27 minutes. Again, this usage does go throughout the entire roster, so not really anybody stands out too much. But if I had to recommend one player, Jeremy Lamb is in the best spot here. Going against Toronto, it's going to be an average pace down spot for Indiana. Brogdon's going to pop a lot of questions here. Brogdon's okay, but 7K, I mean, that's a little... I think that's pretty priced accordingly. So again, nothing too outstanding for these guys. Of course, Oladipo has been playing not as well as he has in the past. So again, the usage hasn't been there for him. So a little underwhelming for the picture of Indiana. If I had to suggest somebody for, it would be Jeremy Lamb, and strictly just for GPPs, and maybe Justin Holiday. Oh, Thompson was in the winning lineup. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're still waiting news on Marquise Chris, guys. Marquise Chris, if you guys have any news, please spam the chat, all right? Because I'm not going to be looking at my phone. I'm not going to be looking at all the updates. All right? All right, so with Toronto. So Toronto, we are looking at their picture without Gasol still. We're looking at their picture without a couple other guys, but they're not really in the picture. I think Powell's the biggest usage guy to look at. Not too much to look at. Again, it's kind of underwhelming. The only guy I'm really looking at here is Serge Ibaka. He's carrying a decent amount of ownership. I do like him for GPPs just because he's still the cheaper of all the centers that I'm looking at, and he has a decent amount of usage. Averages 1.14 fantasy points per minute without Gasol on the court. So again, a slight pace down spot for Toronto. So again, this entire game's underwhelming. I just want to give those GPP plays before I moved on. Ibaka, Terrence Davis actually isn't that bad of a player too here at 2%. If you guys will take a stab at Terrence Davis, I do like Terrence Davis as a GPP flyer. With Washington, they've already got a couple Beal questions. 9.6 is a little too pricey. It's going to be an average spot for Washington against Chicago. Okay, I do like the flip side of the ball a lot more. Okay, we saw what Chicago can do with these price tags so low. Again, this is a pace-up spot for Chicago, so I like them just as much for a stack. Now, their fantasy point output is a little underwhelming, okay? But this could be a decent ceiling game for a lot of these players. Zach LaVine in a great spot, 35%. He's going to be more on the cash side. For GPPs, like these guys are a lot lower than what I'd expect. Ryan here at 6%, Gafford at 7%, Felicio at 4%. I only like them because they are so low in percentage ownership. And we saw what they could do with the stack last night. Okay, and then Kobe White has been adjusted just because of recency bias. I tell you, DFS is fickle. People just overreact. I mean, yes, he had a career game last night. Is he going to do that again? Probably not, even in an up-paced game. He had a sensational night. He put up 22 shots last night, and 50% of that he made. So three-point percentage was at 54%. He's probably not going to hit 54%. Now he could. He could have another great game, but I'm saying he probably won't have a 42 DK output again. Okay, ball will be spread around. Plus, you got to consider that Satoransky had an 0 for 7 night last night. Recency bias and trending in the other direction for him. Let's take a look at his ownership. Ownership at 11%. So again, Satoransky's another great play. A pace-up spot, as we know, his price tag is sitting at 5.3. He's been fairly good when given the chances, except for last night, of course. I know. But Satoransky ends up being another good play, and Thaddeus Young has been on a tear lately. Okay, 6.5, and the last 2 games he's been phenomenal, so I don't mind Thaddeus Young as a GPP option. This entire team I just like for the ownership. 6%, 7%, 4%. They're getting overlooked, except for those 2 players here. Zach LaVine sitting at 35, and Kobe White might be a little too high for me. Again, I can't disagree with Kobe White. Again, he's coming off a great performance. I just don't think he'd repeat it. It is a back-to-back, so you would expect that a lot of these bench players are going to get heavy minutes. All right. Sorry, I had to take a break there for a second. I don't have TJ to rebound some of these ideas off of, so I'm just continuously talking. I'm keeping the stream going, guys. It's a one-man show for the weekend. He will be back Monday. Chad, thank you so much for the subscription. Really appreciate that. All right, so let's move on to the Pelicans. I'm going to keep saying this. Yeah, Chicago does stink, but so does Washington. So, again, this is just going to be a high-scoring, very bad game in general. All right, Pelicans. Brandon Ingram. Again, 6.9. The only reason that he did not do very well last game, let's take a look at it. 27 minutes. Why was he only playing 27 minutes? Again, he got a heavy minute Heavy minutes in the first half, last game, and then he just got benched in the second half. It might have just been a matchup thing. And again, he was playing sensational. So again, I just keep saying this, a great GPP option. It looks like he's going to be more of an even cash play, sitting here at 36%. I like Brandon Ingram averaging 1.25 fantasy points per minute. They stagger the minutes here with Zion, so they don't really get into each other's way offensively, which I really, really enjoy from a DFS perspective. So I do like Brandon Ingram again tonight. He might end up being more of a cash play against Golden State. Golden State does stink. So highest over-under on the slate has to go somewhere. It's going to be Brandon Ingram. It's going to be Lonzo. Zion, dude, I tell you what, with Zion, and I don't hate Zion. I don't hate him as a player. I hate him for DFS because this guy does not seem, he seems to have a ceiling of around, you have to take in consideration this one game where he did well. Brandon Ingram was out, okay? He has a ceiling of about 40 points. Look at this. None of these games are above 40 points. Before I get any Zion questions, the guy's only playing 31 minutes, and he seems to have a ceiling. I get that it's Golden State, but man, I mean, if you're looking for GPP, you want a guy that's going to have a very high ceiling, right? You're looking for that takedown. I just don't see it with Zion. But I do like Lonzo. Lonzo at 7.3. I like, let's scroll down here. Where is he? Drew Holiday at 7.8. His price tag's a little too high. So because that he's going to carry very low ownership, I do like that 4% tag. And I do like that 9%. And of course, I like Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram's the most obvious play here. Yeah, so again, was he in foul trouble? I don't think he was in foul trouble. Regardless of whatever the reason is, his price tag didn't go up. It went from 6.8 to 6.9. It went up $100. And we know that Brandon Ingram is a mid to 7 to 8K range, at least for his output. Okay, so I do like it. It's a great matchup for Brandon Ingram. Again, more cash play now, it seems like. I'm skipping over the Spurs right now. All right, we'll come back to the Spurs because I'm going to get a lot of questions about the Spurs. Golden State, so we're still waiting on that Chris news. If he is out, it's going to switch up a ton of things. I do like the Warriors without Marquise Chris. I especially love people like Kevin Looney if he's going to play over 25 minutes. 3K, obviously going to be a lock for me. But Pascal here, 32 minutes regardless at 4.4, averages 0.91 fantasy points per minute, 7.1 point per dollar on our sheet. He's going to be a cash lock, a single entry GPP play. I do like Pascal. I've always liked him. He's won me a ton of money this season. When there was late breaking injury news, I made a late swap to Pascal and the entire Golden State Warrior team a little bit ago, and Pascal just dominated. He got around 40 DK points, 40 to 50, I think it was, and I really do like him. He's definitely going to fly under the radar going forward, but on the slate, he seems to be a little chalky here. Oladipo and Sumner are out, yes, but again, I crunched the numbers, and there's nothing really too intriguing with that picture, unfortunately. But yeah, Golden State, I kind of want to hold off on them because, again, if Marquise Chris is rolled out, that's going to shake up a lot of things. They are in a pace-up spot, so really you can take a stab at a lot of these guys. I mean, you can take a stab at people like Kai Bowman, Looney regardless at 18 minutes, Jordan Poole here at 31 minutes. Again, it's a great matchup for these guys. They're going against the Pelicans. Usually, I love targeting teams against the Pelicans in general just because they are a high pace-up spot, but Pascal's going to lead the way here. Okay, so I like Pascal. I do like Poole. I do like Damian Lee. Like all these guys I like just because of their upside against this team. All right, now we're going to get to the last game, and this is going to be my GPP sleeper, and I saw some of you guys mention this in the Discord. So we're going to look at Derrick Rose. I think his minutes are not right here. 26 minutes, same thing as Tristan Thompson last night. He played 23 minutes last game, and that's because it was a blowout. He didn't play the entire fourth. If you suspect he would play an additional 7 minutes, he was projected at 30 last game. Playing 30 minutes, this guy averages 1.39 fantasy points per minute without Reggie Jackson on the floor. 1.39, that is almost borderline elite. Some of the great players in the NBA average that. All right, without Reggie Jackson on the floor. We have yet to see their starting lineup, but Derrick Rose is projected to start. And if he's starting only getting 26 minutes, does that make sense to you guys? I see Derrick Rose whenever he plays without Reggie Jackson. He's getting 36 minutes. He's getting 26. He's getting, I'm not even looking at minutes. Oh my gosh. 29, 30, 36, 33, 38. That looked a little weird for a second. 30. Bear with me, guys. So like I said, he's still playing upward of 30 plus minutes. Why is he projected at 26? Is there something I'm missing here? Again, Roto got the projection wrong on Thompson last night. What's up with the minutes here? 26. Why is he only projected 26? 5.9K, only at 10% ownership. I do like him for GPPs. Without Lillard, should take full. He should definitely be in there for a majority of the game. I don't see why he's only projected at 26 minutes. I don't see, and because of that, they only projected him at 5.4 point per dollar value. I'm gonna have a decent amount of exposure to Derrick Rose tonight for sure. Again, it's a pace-up spot for Detroit. Detroit has not been playing at a 108 over-under. Okay? So that's my sleeper for tonight for GPPs. Demboye here, 27 minutes, 3.4, 6.2 on our sheet. I do like some of these value plays on Detroit simply because it's a pace-up spot. Again, if you want to take a stab at a couple of these guys, top to bottom, the team does look pretty priced accordingly other than, like I said, D-Rose. But yeah. Now let's move on to the most frustrating team to look at here. He is coming off an injury. I get that. But it's after All-Star break, and they fully anticipated on playing him 30 minutes the last game. If it wasn't a blowout. They had him projected at 30 minutes last game. It's not a potential blow. I mean, every game's a potential blowout technically, but this game has a 6-point spread. I'm not worried about a blowout. And it's without Lillard, so. All right, let's move on from Detroit. I'd say D-Rose is probably my favorite GPP option on the slate just because of his ownership. Portland's frustrating, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, without Lillard, this is a slight pace-up spot for Portland. Carmelo Anthony has been averaging 0.71 fantasy points per minute over his last 10 games. Has not been playing well at all, and I took him last time, and I think he did okay. 31 fantasy points. He hit value, so I can't complain. But this entire team is very frustrating. He's projected at 35% ownership. Does he really have a ceiling? It's tough to say at this point. I do like Simons here, 5.6. Actually, I think I need to recalculate him. Bear with me, guys. Let me see what that looks wrong here. Portland. And I can actually show you what I'm looking at here. So if we take Lillard off the court, obviously the biggest boosted juice goes to McCollum. Simons, 0.81. That's exactly what I thought it was. 23, yeah, so it's a little bit higher. All right, so Simons, yeah, best value play here for Portland. I do like Simons at 29 minutes. I wouldn't be scared of his minutes. He should log around 29 to 31 minutes. He logged 27 last game again, and he still had 19, so he still hit value. This is going to be a pace-up spot. TJ is on vacation this weekend. He will be back Monday, I promise. All right. I'll tell you why this team is frustrating, because the price tags are so aggressive, it makes it tough to play these guys. I still do like McCollum. 25%, I think he's more of a GPP play on DraftKings because of this ownership being so low. Obviously, averages 1.19 fantasy points per minute. Playing 38 minutes, you should play the entire game. Okay, so I think he's more of a GPP play, which is weird, okay, because of his ownership. On FanDuel, I think he's 7.1. I think that's what his price tag is. He's a lock and load on FanDuel. We're not talking FanDuel. We're talking DraftKings right now. I have him projected here at 45.22 fantasy points, which brings him to a 5.4 on point per dollar on our sheet. So slightly underpriced. I just think his price tag makes it hard, very hard to play in cash comfortably. With there being so much value on the slate, it's going to be tough. I might end up playing him in cash. It's just like, again, I think his price tag makes it very hard. Hassan Whiteside, 9.7K. This frustrates me. This price tag makes it very hard, and so does this percentage ownership. 9.7 is very, very aggressive. Again, it makes it very confusing, and I know you guys are looking for my ultimate answer on this. Should we play these guys? My answer is if the percentage ownership which it is on Whiteside right now, makes sense. Play him in cash, but I'm not comfortable with it in GPPs. Like Whiteside at 9.7 comes out to a decent. I mean, he comes out to a 5 point per dollar on our sheet here, so it's tough. Yeah, Oladipo he's been rolled out, I think. At least he was doubtful. So if you guys are looking for my answer here, I will say play Whiteside if the percentage ownership does stay like this and there's no crazy injuries right before the slate lock. But I don't love it. I'm not in love with the play at 9.7. Because of course, like his ceiling is sitting around 50 points. Like, and it's so volatile too. I get that he has a good matchup against Detroit, but there's so many center options in general. Like with Naz Reid, Naz Reid could easily pay off a better point per dollar value at that low price tag. So again, it's just frustrating. Portland is very frustrating. All right, we can come back to San Antonio here. So San Antonio, Trey Lyles has been logging a lot of minutes. And at 3.9, could easily slide in as a good GPP play. Again, playing 28, 30, 29. It looks like Popovich is starting to really find a good rotation with these guys. Trey Lyles has been playing really, really well. DeMar DeRozan here at 7.2. Also a fairly good GPP play. And it looks like DeJounte Murray, and you guys mentioned this in the Discord, has been logging a ton of minutes. Finally playing 33, and I like this as a Spurs fan. So thank you, Pop. 34, 26, 33. It looks like they're trying to turn this ship around mid-season, and they've been doing pretty well. So if I had to recommend some GPP plays, it looks like Trey Lyles is standing out to me at 3.9. Obviously at 1% ownership, another great GPP option. DeJounte Murray here, obviously a decent play, but this is a pace down spot, so these guys will be very, very low owned. Okay, so if this implied over-under does go over what Vegas projects, this could end up paying off for you a lot. Tell you one player I'm kind of confused about that they haven't been really playing, and I love as a fan. Rudy Gay, man, he's only projected 18 minutes, but yeah, I like him as a fan. I enjoy watching Rudy Gay. I think he's very talented. But yeah, so let's go ahead. I'm going to refresh my page just to make sure I'm not missing out on ownership. I'll kind of break down my summary for you guys, and then I will go ahead and start answering questions. All right? As you guys know, that's usually what we do here. Near the end of the show, we answer all the questions. And it looks like Hassan Whiteside's ownership going up. So yeah, I will say it's kind of tough to not take him in cash. But again, like his upside does scare me. It looks like Portland's over-under just went down. Yeah, Aldridge does usually kill OKC, but I usually don't look at historical matchups because, as we know, the teams change and things change. It depends. So Greedo asked a good question, and I kind of want to bring this up. Greedo, that's a great question. Should you play single entry GPP with the same mindset as cash in terms of ownership? Yes and no. So my answer is if you're playing a single entry, anything lower than 400 people, that's what I consider a small GPP single entry. And you kind of do have to have the same mindset because you're trying to garnish as much ownership as you can because it is single entry, and you don't want to take crazy risks. You don't want to have like 3 or 4 guys in there that are crazy low owned because you want to. You're obviously trying to cash in single entry GPP. You're not necessarily trying to go crazy in a small GPP and trying to take it down, because if you play the right plays, regardless of ownership, you will cash in small GPPs. However, if the single entry GPP is like 5,000 plus people, it's going to be very hard to win with very high owned people. Okay, so if you have an entire lineup composed of fully very high owned people, even if they all do well, it's going to cap your upside, okay? Because, I mean, I can have a full lineup of 50 plus owned people, and if they're all fire, it's still only going to take me so far. There's going to be those 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 people in that NBA or in that slate that are going to snap at very low ownership that are going to set apart with single entry GPPs that are going to have really, really large prize pools, really large amounts of people. So for small single entry GPPs, and I'm talking under 400 people, and I like playing cash lineups in like 100 or less people, because obviously you're trying to play the best plays. You're trying to roll out the best plays regardless of ownership. And if those plays do hit, you're obviously going to cash, and you might even go for a takedown with very small amounts of people. You'll see the Sharks for DFS. They will play very high owned cash lineups in these very small GPPs. You have to take a look at some of these guys' lineups. And you'll quickly realize that their cash mindset is the exact same for single entry GPPs in these very small GPP contests. All right. So let's go ahead and break down my favorite plays on the slate. McLaughlin. All right, I'll go ahead and play TJ's role here. So cash locks. Let's talk about it. McLaughlin is my cash lock. Beasley is one of my cash locks. Brandon Ingram is also one of my cash locks. It looks like his percentage ownership went down, but it doesn't scare me. Pascal, a cash lock. And then this is where it starts to get a little up for grabs. I would say Whiteside or Naz Reid. Looks like Naz Reid's percentage ownership did go up. So I think a great pivot, and I like him for upside, is Naz Reid. I do like Naz Reid more than Whiteside just for upside tonight. Okay? So my lineup here, or my top 4 players are actually my cash locks here on my summary here. All right. So that's what I have to say for cash locks. GPP. Let's go ahead and look at GPPs. I still like McLaughlin for GPPs. I still like Beasley for GPPs. I still like Brandon Ingram. Pascal, because there's so many small forward, power forward options on the slate, you can match the field on him. At least that's my opinion on Pascal tonight. I do like him for upside. But again, there's just so many options at that small forward, power forward position. I think point guard and shooting guard are very thin. That's why McLaughlin and Beasley are very good plays tonight. Okay, because like you could play McLaughlin over somebody like CJ McCollum, and it could pay off for you. Let's go ahead. I like D-Rose for GPPs. I like D-Rose a lot for GPPs. There's really nobody that stands out down here. Uh-oh. It looks like D-Rose's percentage ownership is going up. Bummer. All right, so he will be a little bit high owned, but if you are playing single entry GPPs and you're looking for a sleeper, Derrick Rose still does stand out to me. That stinks. He's sitting at 20%. He doubled in percentage ownership. Sorry about that, guys. I was trying to find a diamond in the rough there. Yeah, I mean, there's not really too many GPP sleepers tonight. If you're going to play aggressive, it might be very good to play aggressive with some of the chalk plays. And again, I do like the Chicago Bulls for GPPs. I think they're far too low for ownership. They have plenty of upside tonight. Also, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat. I will be answering all those questions here in just a moment. All right. Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming for GPP tonight. This might be a cash kind of night. Really nobody that stands out for on my models. I do like Ibaka. I forgot to... Oh, no, I did talk about Ibaka. Ibaka's just another center option in another good spot. So, again, if you're gonna go different, contrarian from the field, I do like Naz Reid and Serge Ibaka over guys like Hassan Whiteside and just over Hassan Whiteside. I think Hassan Whiteside is carrying a lot of ownership. Jokic I do like too. I like Jokic. Obviously, a fantastic matchup. If he gets going early, I mean, it's going to be tough. Going to be tough for those guys to keep up with Denver. But that's the only thing that does scare me about Denver, is because they obviously do have blowout potential going against Minnesota. But again, you have to take in consideration, if they are going to blow them out, who's it going to be because of? It's going to be because of Jokic. So even if he does have an off day, I mean, he's still going to probably get close to 50 DK points. Just because of that blowout potential. I mean, they're obviously going to go through Jokic tonight. All right. Let's go ahead and go to these questions. So hopefully that answered some of your questions. Again, a lot of these Bulls are sitting very low. For you guys who are joining, thank you so much for your support. I covered the entire slate, but I did go over a brief summary there. So if you guys did miss the initial breakdown, feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Also, feel free to hit that subscribe button. We do this every single day. I break down my favorite plays throughout the day, beginning from the morning all the way through lock. So again, if you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. If you look here at Chicago, again, percentage ownership, I went up a little bit. Man, you know why? It's because everybody from this stream is going over and adjusting all their lineups right now, and it's adjusting the percentage ownership. That's really what it is. I'm only kidding. Was Chris ruled out, guys? You guys have an update on Marquise Chris? Alan Crabb was ruled out. Okay. That opens up things a little bit more. I mean, for minutes. Okay. So, I mean, Chicago's ownership is still low. As you guys saw last night with our full Chicago stack, you can see that these guys have tremendous upside. Again, it's a pace-up spot for them. So I still think they're underpriced here. Gafford, a great GPP option. Satoransky, a great GPP option, especially going off recency bias. There's not too many people that will play him. All right. Ryan, another great play. I do like Ryan if he's in the starting lineup again. I think he got to, what, 28 fantasy points last game? Let's take a look at him. What did he get? Yeah, 24. So, I mean, that's great for his price tag at 3.2. So, again, a lot of these value plays for Chicago are very good. I do like them for their ownership. Warriors fan here. Chris should be a go. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, if Chris is out, I do like the Warriors so much more. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to start answering some questions here, and then we'll go ahead and get off here in about 20 minutes or so. I want to make sure I answer those questions. All right. Melo or Barton? That's a great question. That's actually a very good question, because even it's going to be tough. I'm going to say Barton. I like Barton better. I think Barton has more upside. I think he's just a better player. Obviously in the higher pace up spot against Minnesota. I like him more in GPPs, and I actually do like him more in cash. I like Barton. However, we know that Melo's benefiting without Lillard. He'll carry a lot of ownership, so you can't really go wrong with either one. Thad Young, a great play tonight. I don't think he's a great play. I think he's a good play. I think that he has a lot of upside playing with all these injuries, and at 5% ownership, nobody's going to be on him. Again, you can't really go wrong with any of these Chicago Bulls, other than the guys that are playing very low minutes. But I say Gafford, he's still a good player at 25 minutes. All right. Any Carmelo love today? I mean, Carmelo's not a bad play. Again, I just going off of recent stats, he's been playing absolutely horrible. It's kind of hard for me to stay on him. Again, he does get a decent boost. He still averages close to a fantasy point per minute with Lillard off the court. But again, I just feel like even playing, I mean, look at this. He's played against the Pelicans in his last contest. You would think that Melo would get so many different opportunities. He still shot 4 of 11. I mean, he just doesn't, I don't know, guys. Carmelo Anthony is just one of those players that just is kind of there. He's not a high usage guy in the system. Guys I do like more are McCollum, and obviously Whiteside's a better play. Simons is still a very great value play, in my opinion, playing at 29 minutes. Levine and Steve Adams, or CJ and Whiteside. Is this for cash or GPP? I'm going to assume cash. CJ and Whiteside are definitely safer. Barton and Rue and cash. Or Rue and cash. Barton. Ariza sleeper. Yes, Ariza could have a great night tonight. Again, it's a pace of spot. So I like all these Blazers. It's just that Whiteside's price tag scares me for GPPs. That's all. Who are you targeting for cash from Portland? For cash from Portland, I think your safest options are going to be McCollum and Whiteside just because of the ownership. I like all of them for cash just because of ownership. But for upside, I'd say McCollum has the most upside. It's just tough, man. All the price tags are adjusted upwards. It's very hard for me to get behind them. I'm not going to repeat that username, but thank you so much for the subscription. All right, moving on. Levine question mark. Yeah, Levine, his price tag is aggressive. I do like him for upside. Averaging 36 fantasy points per minute. So I do like him in the pace of spot. 21% ownership. I do like Levine tonight. Obviously, the stud on that team. If they're going to get it going, it's going to be through him. So I do like Levine tonight in GPPs. Cash, I mean, you're going to see a lot of this ownership going elsewhere, which is actually kind of surprising because Chicago, again, it's a pace of spot. I do like Zach LaVine tonight. I think this could be a ceiling game for Zach LaVine. Top stud. Let's talk about top studs. Let's go by salary. I'll talk about my favorite pay-up options. Yes, I like Jokic. Hassan Whiteside for cash. Bradley Beal will go under the radar just because of ownership. So if you guys want to take a stab at Bradley Beal, sure. I'm probably not going to have too much ownership in Bradley Beal. But keep in mind that 8% ownership, we know Bradley Beal can do. So, and I do like Zach LaVine. I'm going to go McCollum and Whiteside for cash. And then I'm saying my favorite GPP options are going to be, at least talking about studs, Zach LaVine and Jokic. Yep, I will say that. Ryan, yes, is a good play. I'm not going to butcher his last name. You guys already know what I'm talking about if you've been watching the streams. What about Christian Wood? He's projected at almost 40 by my numbers. Christian Wood, let's talk about him. We haven't talked about Christian Wood, but yes, another option at the center power forward position. Him being at power forward eligibility makes him it's just a great play in general. Christian Wood, averaging 1.26 fantasy points per minute in a pace-up spot. Yeah, I mean, another GPP option. I'm not as high on him as some of these other players like Jokic and Naz Reid at the center position, but I do like, Christian Wood's not a bad GPP option for sure. One off or two spots and single entry GPPs. I said, because of contest size, it's kind of hard to answer that question. So if you're playing a very small GPP, try not to be too different from the field. But if you're playing single entry with a lot of people in there, obviously you're going to try to get a little bit more crazy as the slate size gets bigger. You love Okogie for GPPs tonight. Yeah, I mean, Josh Okogie's just one of those players. You just never know what's going to go on with him. He's burned me a lot this season. He's burned our members a lot in this season. Let's go ahead and take a look at him. So his price tag's still sitting at 4.3. It looks like it hasn't changed too much. I mean, just very inconsistent play. Looks like a roller coaster. Up and down, up and down, up and down. D-Rose lock GPP. Yeah, D-Rose is a good GPP play, but again, his ownership is going upwards, so a lot of people are on him now. Scaring me. I'm from Chicago. Gafford all day. Gafford's been playing pretty well with the minutes that are given to him. If he does start, I do like Gafford again tonight for GPPs. All right, I'm scrolling down to the bottom here. DeRozan and Cash make any sense? DeRozan and Cash, no. I would say no, not for Cash. He's a consistent player. I'll give him that. But percentage ownership is at 12%, 12.84%. Pace down spot. So, I mean, I'm not too high on DeRozan. If he's one of your last spots, I mean, go for it. 13% isn't too bad. If he's one of your last spots, I'll say, yeah, go for it. All right. DeRozan or McCollum? McCollum. Oh, it depends on what contest you're talking about. McCollum has a lot of upside. He just does. Playing 38 minutes. 38 minutes in a pace-up spot against Detroit. His price tag is just the only thing. It's just not making me in love with him. But he could end up being a good GPP play just because his ownership's not as high as it was last time. All right. Bruce Brown getting 30 minutes. Yeah, Bruce Brown. You guys know my Bruce Brown love. Bruce Brown here, his price tag keeps going up. That's the only thing that's scary. Good GPP play if you want to play him. I'm not against it. But I love Bruce Brown when he was sitting at like 3.9, 4K. and I loved him at that price tag, but now it's just going to keep going up. He's probably going to be sitting around mid 5 to 6K range for the rest of the season, which is a bummer. We took advantage of him while he was cheaper, though. How do you feel about Steven Adams and GPPs? Steven Adams' price tag is very high now. At least higher than it should be, 6.8. So I'm not in love with that at all. I don't like that. I like a lot of these other center positions more, I will say that. Beasley, McLaughlin, Naz Reid. Yeah, those are all fantastic plays. Sure. If I were to stack a game today, what would it be? It would be the Chicago-Washington game, 100%. I didn't touch base on Washington too much, but that's because their prices are very high. I do like Ish Smith, though. Ish Smith has just been playing well in the starting role here. Just in general has been fairly consistent. Bertans also not a bad play. I like Bertans just because of his upside, his shooting ability. Hachimura here, 30 minutes. It's just like all these price tags are just very aggressive. And Troy Brown, I used to like him, but only playing 21 minutes now. Look at his minutes. It's very frustrating. It just really frustrates me because, look, 16, 20, 19 minutes, but then you look at his output on the other side, 21, 27, 23. So he just, man, I love Troy Brown as a player. I wish they would play him more. I wish he would play more minutes off the bench, but obviously with everybody back, he's not going to be playing that much. You guys know my Troy Brown love. Always flying under the radar. He's just not playing minutes. I don't like him anymore. All right. Sorry, bro. I was 16 when I made this YouTube name. I'm going to change it. It's all right. You just know I can't talk about this. We're going to keep this PG on the stream. I think I might play Barton because I'm going 3 Minnesota. Yeah, that makes sense. Like Reed if he doesn't start. I don't like Reed if he does not start. I'd get that they'll split minutes, but if he's playing 32 minutes, that's a huge difference from 25. Because when he doesn't play or when he doesn't start, he's usually sitting around 30 minutes. And again, his price tag. Why can't I find Minnesota? His minutes are usually around 25, like I said, and 5.5 is just too much for me to get behind somebody at 25 minutes. He averages 1.17 fantasy points per minute, so it would make more sense for a lower price tag, but again, 5.5 is just very aggressive. Whiteside and cash, though. Yeah, Whiteside is a safe cash play. Like I said, I think Jokic tonight has a lot more upside, especially if they can keep it close. I won't say a lot more upside. Has more upside. Whiteside isn't a bad play. That's just like 9.7. We haven't seen that price tag from him this season. What's the lowest price must own potential for Portland's guard? What's the lowest price must own? I like Simons. I think that's your question. Like, what's the lowest guy that I would lock in? I like Simons tonight at 29 minutes. Whoa, 3% ownership. Okay. Oh, guys, we're not even going to talk about my Eric Gordon pick last night? Come on. That's 3% ownership last night on Eric Gordon, and he got you 24 DK points. We're just not going to talk about 25, I think. I forget how much. But he finished fire against Utah. Just saying. And he was coming off the bench, too. So I can't even imagine if he was getting starter minutes, what he would have actually done. So Simons here at 3.9. I do like Simons. He looks like to be a fantastic GPP play if he's sitting at 3%. I thought he was projected higher. All right, I'm going to get off here in a couple minutes. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and I'll go ahead and get off. The slate isn't as straightforward as before, but there is still some edge. McCollum or Whiteside? I'm going to say McCollum. How do you feel about Zach LaVine versus DeRozan in a large field GPP? I'd have to see the rest of your lineup, guys. That's kind of tough. DeRozan's carrying lower ownership, so I will say that. Ended up with CJ. I'm assuming McCollum. LaVine, Ingram, Jokic, Pascal, McLaughlin, Ryan, and Gafford for single entry. I like that lineup a lot. Good lineup. Who are you pivoting to if Naz doesn't start? Well, here's the deal with those two guys. So in Minnesota, if we're looking here, Naz Reid and where is he? James Johnson split minutes. So James Johnson would be the guy getting 30 minutes as opposed to Naz Reid, so I would be on James Johnson. James Johnson's pretty productive too. He has been playing pretty well. So that would be my pivot. Straight up, if he doesn't start, I would honestly say Johnson. I don't think there's any other centers in that price range. But Rui Hachimura, I guess. You can get the Chris, obviously, if he's playing. Yeah, there's not too many people. Miles Turner isn't a bad play, too. It's just, I will say this about NBA, and it's very frustrating. The center position, there's so many options. So many options. I feel like they should just, at this point, get rid of the positions. This is a very contrarian view of DFS. They should just get rid of the positions at this point. Because like it makes it hard to play the centers that you want to play. Showdowns, I have a blast. I load up on all the centers sometimes. All right. Nas will start. Coach said Johnson, small ball starting 5. Thad Young or Barton for GPP. Thad Young's carrying lower ownership. I like both of those guys, though. I'll say Thad Young, just because he's carrying lower ownership. Ish or Sado, small GPP. I like Sadaransky more tonight, for sure. Can you run CJ, Melo, Trev, and Trevor Ariza? It depends on what contest. I like their price tags, so... I will say this, pick one of CJ or Melo and then come back with Ariza because those guys are going to be carrying more usage and it's you got to have the mindset one of those guys is going to go off whereas the other one probably won't. It's leaning more towards CJ, obviously for me, and then Ariza. I would say play CJ and Ariza. See if I'm missing any questions here. TJ Warren or Thaddeus Young on DK for power forward. I like Thad Young tonight. I have 5,700 in the util. Who do you like? 57. Straight up. All right. Melo is safe. Naz Reid, if you don't have him. You guys can't see my Naz Reid love yet. And Barton's another great play. If you don't have one of those three, I'd say one of those three. It's a great price range, though, to be stuck at. I wouldn't touch Beal with Sano's money. Fade Reed and play Lyles in cash. Yeah, guys, I did say in cash. In cash, I wouldn't do that. But for GPPs, for everybody who is joining that is new to the stream, take a look here. I mentioned him earlier, and he seems to be very low owned, which doesn't make sense because it looks like the public has not caught up to this. Trey Lyles, 3.9K. I mentioned him in my video. 18, 25, 24. He's been hitting value pretty easily. He's been getting a lot of minutes. It looks like Popovich is going to be throwing him the rotation here at 2%. I do like Trey Lyles for GPP. I'm going to have a decent amount of exposure to him. For sure. For sure. Yeah, Lyles is not a cash play. Any consideration for Toscano Anderson? I've been paying attention to him. I think he's only projected at 17 minutes, though. He's been playing very well. 24 minutes last game, got 30 points. I wouldn't react to that, though. I mean, if he's playing more than 17 minutes, yeah, he's a good play. But again, if Marquise Chris is playing, no, unfortunately. That would be a very sexy pick, though. Yeah, I know. I mentioned CJ's price on FanDuel was 7K, which is insane. Play all the CJ McCollum over on FanDuel. Guys, I try to avoid FanDuel questions because I am a DraftKings guy. I'm sorry. And a lot of these DraftKings picks correlate over the Yahoo. I don't know if they have the same kind of algorithm behind it. But if you're here for Yahoo, too, I know Yahoo is another popular site. Yeah, use these picks. Use these picks. Levine is my only Bulls guy right now. Depends in GPP or cash. Because GPPs, you guys can go crazy with the Bulls again. Justin Holiday or Gafford as value. Gafford, probably. I do like Justin Holiday, though. I like him for a GPP option. Rory, way too cheap on DK. I mean, he's not bad. It's not a bad play. Again, I get concerned with teams like that that have the entire full team back, because then you're essentially just throwing a dart at the dartboard with who's going to do well. Like, yes, all these guys are great plays, but one of these guys, or a lot of these guys, are going to underperform just because their entire team's back and they have the full rotation. Minutes are split, so like, who knows? Troy Brown could go off tonight and take usage away from Hachimura, Bertans, and Ish Smith. And then guys like Napier could step up. I like very thin rotations to target. I like thin rotations like Chicago, because if Satoransky does have an off night, guess what? Like, the rest of the team is going to be on fire, like last night. Gafford, if he has a great night at 3.5, other people will still have a good night. So thin rotations, I love targeting teams with thin rotations. That's always been a very good thing. A lot of people overlook them rotations in NBA, which is why we have such an edge here. Malik Beasley, D Rose, or DeJounte Murray for single entry. I like Malik Beasley and D Rose a lot. I'll say D Rose for lower ownership, but I love Beasley tonight. I think Beasley's a great play. I would try to get Beasley and D Rose in there both, though. Sorry. That means time for another drink. Pretend like that didn't happen. Thoughts on Wiggins for GPP? Yeah, then you mentioned Wiggins. His price tag is so high up there at 8K. We know Wiggins was not that good in Minnesota, but he's been playing fairly well for Golden State. 22% does scare me. I think there's better plays than Wiggins. Whiteside fade. For GPPs, you could get away with it. I said that his price tag is scary. Whiteside is so up and down. It's like his ceiling. I mean, his best performance here was 64. I'm assuming that was without CJ McCollum or something. But I think these guys have these other guys like Jokic has shown in the past that his ceiling is very, very high. Obviously, Naz Reid value-wise has a ton of upside tonight. I don't necessarily am recommending a Whiteside fade. I'm saying you could probably get away with it tonight if you had to do that. Best Minnesota guys versus the Nuggets. I covered this many times, but I will go ahead and recap it. I'm going to go ahead and get off here in a minute, guys. This is going to be my last question. Sorry for everybody. My favorite Minnesota players, and I'll go ahead and recap the entire slate now. McLaughlin, Beasley, and Naz Reid are my favorite. And those guys should be in your cash lineup. If you're playing double center, put Naz Reid at power forward. Come back with a center. You might even be able to get a third center in there. Util position. Cash locks for me. McLaughlin, Beasley, Pascal, and Naz Reid. This is where it starts to get confusing. Do you want to play people like Barton? Do you want to play Brandon Ingram just because of his ownership? I do like Brandon Ingram, and I like Will Barton. The only thing that scares me with Will Barton is his blowout potential, so that makes Brandon Ingram a little bit safer. For me, you could play Whiteside down there. You could even play Carmelo Anthony. CJ McCollum are all great cash plays. I think Zach LaVine becomes more of a GPP option tonight. Yeah, so I just answered that last question. What plays would you start with your single entry GPP? So I just started that. The core here, you had to start with those core 3 Minnesota guys. I like Brandon Ingram. I said this many times on the stream. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end that here in the entire stream here, guys. I do have to get off. I have to make a cash line for the members. I do have to update Patreon because there's a couple other things I did see and I want to update for you guys. If you guys are still struggling with lineup construction, please do support the stream with Patreon. It is a stream support tool. You commit to paying $20 a month, and I really do appreciate it. Obviously, that keeps me going. And with that, you get my GPP cheat sheet. I tell you where I'm over on players, where I tell you where I'm under the field on players, and I tell you where you should match the field on players. Again, I adjust everything after I get off the stream just a little bit, so I give you guys the edge. So, with that being said, guys, thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing the support as always. Have a great rest of your weekend, and let's cash.